What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to be doing a penetration test with my Marlin 1895 22-inch barrel 4570, and I'm going to be shooting some hardcast barrel loads at plywood, regular half-inch plywood. And the purpose of the test is just to see how many sheets of plywood it takes to stop a hard cast barrel load 4570, and the rifle I'm going to be using is my Marlin 1895. It has a 22-inch barrel. This is an original Marlin 1895, and I purchased this in 2001. It's over 20 years old. It's a JM stamped Marlin. It's not a Remlin. And the ammunition I'm going to be using is just some HSM barrel loads, and these are 430 grain hard cast bullets here, and I have chronographed these loads, and out of my 22-inch barrel Marlin I get around 1,766 feet per second of muzzle velocity for a muzzle energy of 2,978 foot-pounds. Pretty powerful round. And this is hard cast lead. Okay, so it's an alloy of lead with zinc, antimony, and tin. So it's not pure lead. It's a hard projectile designed for penetration. And what I do with the plywood is I cut the plywood to 1 foot by 1 foot squares, and I screw all the plywood together, and then I shoot at the plywood to see how many sheets the round will penetrate through. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you're interested in seeing my other 4570 plywood penetration tests, I'll leave links to them at the top right corner of this video. And if you want to see all of my plywood penetration tests with other calibers and cartridges, check out my plywood penetration tests playlist. I have all of them in there. If you want to see some 4570 content, including chrono tests and penetration tests and other videos, check out my 4570 playlist, and I'll leave a link to that in the top right corner of this video as well. Other than that, let's get started and let's see what happens here. Let's see how many sheets of regular plywood the 4570 barrel loads can penetrate through. All right, guys, 4570 versus plywood. Got the HSM 430 grain barrel loads. These are plus P. I'm going to take 2 shots at the plywood. See what happens here. All right, guys, so HSM barrel load, 4570, 430 grain hard cast. with a muzzle energy of around 3,000 foot-pounds, penetrated through 16 sheets of half-inch 3-ply Southern Yellow Pine plywood, which is standard sheathing plywood here in the United States for external walls. So I want to just go through all the plywood with you and show you the damage that was done. What's really interesting and actually not surprising is that actually these hardcast bullets flattened out quite a bit and deformed quite a bit. And this is something that I've seen in my testing with 4570 hardcast bullets, is that they will actually behave almost like a soft point, because hardcast bullets are not designed to be driven to very high velocities. Okay, they're meant for low to moderate velocities, max 1700 feet per second, max. They're not really designed for over 1700 feet per second because they start to flatten out and deform, okay? And I see a lot of people carrying these loads in bear country, and I think it's a mistake. I think you're better off with something like the Buffalo Bore 380 grain monometal, which has reliable straight line penetration and zero deformation from all of the testing I've done. Or maybe the Buffalo Bore 500 grain full metal jacket, which is actually a safari grade full metal jacket bullet. Okay, in my opinion, a hardcast bullet is not a good choice for a 4570, because in all the testing I've done, be it plywood or other media, I've also done lumber, and it always flattens out, okay? And when I test hardcasts in pistols, the hardcasts never flatten out or deform in pistols, because pistol velocities are much lower than rifle velocities, okay? So just wanted to mention that to any of you guys out there who carry hardcasts in bear country. I would reconsider it, especially if you're carrying them for a 4570 or something that's pushing the hardcasts over 1700 feet per second. I think hardcasts were never really designed to go much over 1600 feet per second. You know, I think the sweet spot is going to be somewhere between 1200 and 1600. You can go lower. Obviously, it's not going to hurt to have a slower speed. But if you start to go too slow, then you're not going to have enough speed to actually penetrate enough. So just wanted to mention that to you guys, and I'll take the bullets out of the wood and we're going to take a closer look at them. I'm going to weigh them. I'm going to take measurements to see what kind of expansion occurred, but they basically look like a soft point. You'll see in a minute here when I show you. So this is the first block of 6 sheets. What I did was I screwed the plywood sheets into blocks of 6, okay? And then I screwed those blocks of 6 together into one giant block of plywood, all right? So you can see all 3-ply, half-inch plywood, regular plywood, all right? So my 3 shots were here, okay? 3 shots right here. And let's look at the back of the first block of 6 here. So what's crazy is look at these huge holes here, guys. That is just absolutely insane. Look at this hole. I mean, that is just insane. Look at that. I could fit my whole finger in there. Look, it's probably like, I could actually fit my thumb in there. I mean, you're looking at probably 1.25 inches of a hole there. Same thing over here, massive hole. Look at that hole. Look at this one here. Just absolute devastation, okay? And that's not something you would expect from a hardcast, all right? Because hardcasts are not designed to expand, but when you push them, you know, over 1700 feet per second, they're going to start to flatten out and kind of behave more like a slug. I mean, imagine that kind of a hole in living tissue, the amount of blood that would be coming out. That is just insane, okay? So massive hole here. Look at this. I mean, that's just crazy. So here we have the second block of 6, and here are the 3 hard casts right here. You can see some lead starting to be deposited in the plywood, okay? See those gray colors there? Some of the lead is coming off the bullet and being deposited into the plywood. And here's the back of the second block of 6. So this is the back of the 12th sheet. And you can see that these exit holes now are much smaller than the exit holes from the 6th sheet. So here we have the back of the 6th sheet. You can see these huge exit holes here in the first block of 6. And then over here, they're much smaller, okay? So that means the bullet is slowing down and it's not generating as much of a shock wave through the wood, and it's not displacing material as much. And then here we have our last 6 sheets here. So let's just go through these. So here we have the 13th sheet. Okay, 1, 2, 3 are 3 shots there. Here we have the 14th sheet. You can see lots of lead being deposited in the 14th sheet. Lots of lead. Look at all that lead in there, guys. So, you know, you don't want to push your hard casts too fast, okay? They were never designed for that. Don't push them that fast. Keep it under 1,600 feet per second, in my opinion. Anything over 1,600 feet per second, it's going to start to deform and lose its mass. As you can see, look at all that lead being deposited there. And here we have the 15th sheet, okay? Still massive holes though, okay, massive holes. And here's one of them, all right? This is the back of the 15th sheet. And look at how it's just completely flattened out. It looks like a shotgun slug. It doesn't look like a hard cast bullet at all, okay? So I'm going to pull this one out. So this is the back of the 15th sheet. So one of them penetrated through 15. And then here we have our 16th sheet. Okay, there's our 3 shots, and this one is just a dent, okay, and the other 2 passed through. But look at all that lead that was deposited here. Look at this. Just lots and lots of lead, okay, being deposited. And then here we have one of the slugs here, okay. So this is the back of the 16th sheet, and in my opinion, it probably would have passed through this sheet if there wasn't another sheet behind it. So that's why I'm going to say 16, because it actually punched a little hole in the back here. So we're going to say 16. And then this one passed clean through, okay? But still lots of lead being deposited. Look at all that lead there, all that gray stuff. And then here we have our 17th sheet, and there's actually a chunk of lead here. Look at that. Wow. So here's our bullet there stuck in the 17th sheet. Okay. So pretty mangled up. And there's the back of the 17th sheet there. It didn't actually punch through it. So that's why we're going to stick with 16. So 16 and 15 sheets for the 4570 HSM bare load 430 grain hard cast. That's not very impressive, guys. That's about the same amount of penetration as a 308 soft point and a 10 millimeter hard cast. I did this same test with 10 millimeter bare loads, and I could penetrate through 12 to 13 sheets with 10 millimeter pistol rounds. Okay, so only penetrated 3 to 4 more sheets with the 4570. That's not that impressive, okay? And that's much less than some other 4570 rounds I've tested against plywood. And if you want to see those tests, I'll leave a link in the top right corner to my 4570 playlist and my plywood penetration tests playlist and my other 4570 penetration tests against plywood. So if you want to compare, so not a lot of penetration, pretty disappointed here. So I'm going to pull these bullets now out of the wood, and we're going to take a closer look at them. We're going to weigh them, see how much weight retention we have, and we're going to take some measurements and take a closer look at them to see what kind of deformation occurred. So stay tuned. All right, guys, so here we have our 3 hard casts after penetrating all that plywood. This one on the left penetrated through 15 sheets. And look at this thing, guys. I mean, it's not even recognizable. It doesn't even look like a bullet. It's just a giant mass of lead. I can't even tell where the front is, where the back is. I can't tell anything. You know, look at this. This is just absolutely insane. This looks like a 12 gauge slug, not a hard cast. So that's just something to think about, guys. I know that hard casts are popular for 4570s, but I would urge you guys to consider other options like a monolithic metal bullet or a good jacketed bullet that has a nice thick jacket like the Barnes Buster. Okay, but this to me is just unacceptable. And these are actually pretty hard bullets. I think they're cast to around 20 Bernal hardness or something along those lines. So I got my caliper here, and I just want to see how much expansion occurred here with this solid bullet. It's supposed to be a solid bullet. Look at that, 0.786 inches. 0.78 inches. That is just crazy, guys. 0.84. I mean, come on. That's just unacceptable. I mean, if you're using this as a hunting bullet and you're not hunting dangerous game, probably okay. Or semi-dangerous game, class 3 game, you're probably fine. If you have somebody to back you up with good solids and a good powerful rifle, you'd probably be fine. But if you're on your own, this wouldn't be my first choice for bare defense, in my opinion. I mean, if it did this after only 14 sheets of plywood, all it took was just 14 sheets of plywood to do this, okay? That's about 7.5 inches of wood. That's not that much wood. So here we have the ones that penetrated the deepest, 16 sheets, and there were some pieces here that came off of them. Here's one giant chunk of lead that separated from the bullet. Okay, here we have a gas check. Look at the gas check, how it's all messed up, and there's pieces of lead stuck to it. Look at that, that's crazy. Look at how mangled up that gas check is. And here's the actual bullet itself. So it lost quite a bit of lead, okay? But you can see how it just flattened out, and that's not what you want with a hard cast bullet. You don't want a bullet that looks like this. This is just not good, okay? This is good for a hunting bullet, but not for a self-defense bullet, all right? So let's just see how much it expanded. Never thought I would measure expansion on a hard cast bullet. So we got 0.55 inches. Pretty interesting. Okay, 0.59. All right, so pretty interesting. And then here we have the other one here, and you can see it's just barely recognizable. You can see some of the loop grooves there, but check that out, guys. It's just completely messed up. It's just crazy. And then we got these big pieces here, another big piece that detached from it. Big chunk. Okay. And this lead is actually sharp because it's not regular lead. It's hard cast lead. So when you handle it, you got to be careful you don't cut yourself. It's almost like handling steel or some kind of metal. It's not like regular lead. And there's some other fragments here. You got some other fragments here that came off. And then here's the gas check. It's all messed up there. So I'm going to weigh these bullets now and see how much weight retention we got, but it's probably not going to be good. So Stick around. All right, guys, I got my digital reloading scale. I zeroed it out. I got this 100-gram weight. We're just going to double check and make sure it's zeroed. So we got 100.00 grams. So we're zeroed out. We're good to go. We're ready to start weighing these bullets here. Now, I'm not going to weigh these fragments because these fragments are not really considered part of the bullet. What I will do is I will weigh them with the gas check, but these fragments are going to stay off. Okay, so we got 279.2 grains for one of the bullets that penetrated through 16 sheets. That's pretty bad, guys. Very bad. And here we have the other one. Okay. And I'm going to add the gas check just to be fair. 328.8 grains. So it lost 100 grains. So that's pretty significant. Then here we have this mess here. This one penetrated through 15 sheets. Let's see what kind of weight retention we got. Wow, actually retained a lot, 419.5 grains. That's pretty interesting how this one retained a lot more than the other two. That's pretty surprising. So pretty interesting results, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Check out my other 4570 ballistics tests. Check out my plywood penetration tests. I've done a whole bunch with other cartridges. But that's it for this one, guys. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.